Hey, it's Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. Now, I was looking for fun ways to tell you that Mint's offer of unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month is back. So I thought it would be fun if we made $15 bills. But it turns out that's very illegal. So there goes my big idea for the commercial. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
You're being very diplomatic, Sean. I'm sorry. Millennials have it so much worse.
Oh, wow. Okay. What a very millennial thing to say, by the way.
Welcome to the Ankler Podcast. It's Wednesday, August 27th, and I'm your host, Elaine Lowe, staff writer at The Ankler and author of the series Business Newsletter, here with Sean McNulty of The Wake Up and Natalie Jarvie of Like and Subscribe. It's back to school season, so we're going to give you the Cliff's Notes on the 5 biggest stories of the summer in Hollywood. This is what people are going to be talking about through the fall, so let's make sure you're all prepared for when you're quizzed at your next power lunch or cocktail party. But first, guys, I thought this was going to be a slow news week going into Labor Day weekend, but we have a royal wedding on our hands, or as Taylor Swift put it, your English teacher and your gym teacher are getting married.
Sean, where were you when you found out this important breaking news?
I was on Slack with you people, apparently. That's what's going on.
Is that where you learned it from? Slack? From us at work?
I'm sorry, this is a news organization, isn't it? That's pretty good to learn it from people. I mean, come on, so I'm not on Instagram most days, so that's pretty much where it's coming from. So, I learned today, of course, I put in the wake up this morning, that Dad said it happened 2 weeks ago. So, frankly, this is old news at this point.
Well, they announced it to the world, which was huge. And I do think, business stopped at multiple companies around town when this
Somehow
news
I was
hit.
still writing. I'm just saying. I was just putting it that way.
I don't know. I was in 5 different text threads about it. So,
I was a zero. Okay, so there you go. Right.
Yeah, but speaking of business, this isn't just about our parasocial relationship to Taylor Swift. She's a music powerhouse, and Travis Kelce also has Hollywood affiliations. He hosts the New Heights podcast, the game show Are You Smarter Than the Fifth Grader? And I am told plays football. Together, they have an estimated combined net worth of nearly $1.7 billion. All
right, together
about
combined.
$1.6 billion of that is Taylor.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And a real interest in Hollywood, though. Travis is a film producer now. He co-produced that film, My Dead Friend Zoe. Taylor obviously sold over $2 billion in tickets for her Eras tour. And interestingly, I've read several stories that say she has driven up female viewership of NFL games on TV while watching her quarterback boyfriend. Is that right, Sean? Is he a
quarterback?
Do not that's Mahomes, man. Now you're starting fire now, Elaine. Be careful there.
Okay, well, the female viewership has not been driven up in this home.
Yeah, apparently not in the Lowe household.
The
Not so
NFL,
much.
no.
Yeah. Okay. No.
Okay. Well, they've been together for 2 years. Now they're getting married. They're joining forces for the long haul. Is this the birth of a new Hollywood power couple? Or in Swiftie terms, the next great American dynasty?
I mean, I'm personally really interested in this kind of next phase of Taylor Swift's career. I mean, she's coming off of this huge tour that lasted, 2 years, which is crazy. Yeah, she's got another album coming out, but now she's also focusing on her personal life. And there has been a lot of talk about what she could do as she, matures into her kind of role as one of the preeminent pop singers in the world. There's been talk that she's going to write and direct a Searchlight movie. That could be an interesting thing for her to do if she ever decides to take a little bit of a break from making and recording music. So I'll definitely be curious, how the two of them together can kind of take on new challenges. And it certainly seems like Travis is interested in Hollywood. So I expect them to be here quite a bit.
Yeah, there's definitely some change ahead. I mean, Travis hasn't announced this. There's a lot of thinking out there. This may be his last year playing for the Chiefs. He's certainly, not getting any younger in the NFL in his mid-30s, so kind of hitting about that time. So again, there'll be a lot of change a year from now, not even a year from now, come, February or March. He may be, not doing his job anymore that he's been doing for over a decade. So there's that. She has the album, as you mentioned, Natalie, in mid-October, which presumably you tour on an album. I mean, again, she came off a 2.5-year tour and the Eras tour movie, no less. Does she just do another movie to promote it? That's where And no, we have no idea at this point, obviously, but will that be a thing? There's obviously the Super Bowl is in LA not in this February, but next February. So maybe that's been floated as a possible, like maybe will she be the Super Bowl halftime show?
Yeah, I think there's no way she's doing the halftime show while Travis is still playing.
I think that's hard to do this year, or this season, I should say.
But next year is interesting. And, there's
That's
also
legit.
been a lot of swirl about, could she decide to do a Vegas residency? Taylor Swift at the Sphere, anyone? I don't know that there's anything behind those rumors, but that would certainly be interesting. And, the thing that's so fascinating to me about Taylor Swift is that at every point in her career, she really has, kind of charted new courses for artists. I mean, she did that in her fight over the streaming of her music back in the day.
Absolutely.
And then again with the re-records of her albums and ultimately the move to buy back her masters. So
and the movie too, the Eras Tour
exactly.
movie, like that was groundbreaking as well.
So, I think whatever she does, she will continue to pave the way for musicians and make change in this industry. And it will be interesting to see how she does that alongside this person who also has a big media profile and clearly has really big ambitions about where his career will go post-football.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know. It's like he can kind of pitch me two stories. Does he go kind of the NFL commentator route, which is pretty full-time? I mean, his brother's already doing it on ESPN as well. So, like, there's that, which is kind of traditional. But
he doesn't have to.
There's a risk of the leap from NFL player to movie star is not really well paved here. Not that he said he can't do it, but is he even have the chops to do it is a question.
Well, we've seen wrestler to movie star in John Cena.
It's not, and The Rock certainly was one of our biggest movie stars that we have. So it's not unprecedented, but it's certainly, he had a minor role in Happy Gilmore too. So we'll see if that becomes something, but will he go that kind of, again, maybe in producing things like that? But that's definitely, Natalie, to your point, the more ambitious of the paths. So that'd be more curious to watch. Again, this is all a year from now, so it's a lot of just things that just like wishful thinking, as you say, Natalie. But.
I mean, he's already a top podcaster. That podcast with Taylor Swift broke records.
Well, Taylor helped that pop through the roof.
Still have
Isn't that the
going.
most watched podcast on YouTube of all time now? That the New Heights episode that she was on the other couple weeks ago?
The live audience was the biggest.
Live audience,
people who live streamed or whatever watched it. Yeah. In that
but
regard.
I did read that, they broke records in terms of the number of views on the reel that they posted, the clip from the podcast. So, I mean, that thing went gangbusters. And, it was already a popular podcast. It's even going to become more popular now that...
Exactly. I was going to say, now we have the wedding announcements and, X, Y, and Z, like you name it, so a lot of future there.
Well, regardless, this is a great time for a news dump, by the way, if anyone wants to go under the radar with a lawsuit or divorce or murder trial, because I almost missed the news that Netflix's head of scripted series in the US and Canada, Peter Friedlander, is leaving after 14 years at the company.
That's what I saw, Lane. That was in my mind. That I saw, yes.
I mean, I was still in complete Taylor Swift land over there. But like, he was one of the OG Netflix executives. He joined in 2011, oversaw House of Cards, Black Mirror, more recently The Queen's Gambit, a lot of these iconic Netflix series. He'll be succeeded by the head of drama, Jeannie Howe, a very well-liked creative exec around town. I heard from a number of people after the news broke yesterday who love her and are very happy for her. Curious what you all make of the timing of Friedlander's exit. His memo said that he was going to take some time to himself. Do we think he will wind up popping up anywhere at another studio in the future?
I mean, it's certainly notable that Cindy Holland, his former boss, is over at Paramount. Whether that's already in the cards or whether she called him up, this week, as a lot of people probably did, I don't know. But that could be interesting. A prediction, perhaps.
Yeah, it's out there. I mean, his previous role was at Playtone, was a producer and an executive, so maybe he wants to get back to, maybe it's a production deal at Paramount. Doesn't even need to be necessarily an executive role, so that could be something else in terms of, or at Netflix, certainly. You could certainly segue into that, but it wasn't, Elaine, the I'm segueing to a deal at Netflix conversation, which typically when you leave that kind of role...
Which typically means you've been let go. Sometimes, right?
Well, it depends. I mean, look, benefit of the doubt. I don't know, and it could just be Peter's been there 14 years and wants to go do something else, and
right. But I'm saying that conversation where they're segueing to a producer role frequently means that they are being downgraded. Sometimes can mean they're being downgraded against their will. Yeah.
Sometimes more probably definitely in film, TV. I think maybe I don't know. Yes.
It's so hard to figure out because you look at these trade announcements and it's like nobody is ever fired, nobody is ever ousted, everybody just exits.
Sure, there's a real story that hasn't quite come out.
Everybody departs, and we've all covered enough of those to know. But yeah, in this case, I am told he genuinely, is stepping away of his own accord and is, taking some time. I think the question is more, will he pop up somewhere else next? I mean, or is this an early retirement?
I don't think he's retiring. Yeah, I don't know that certainly wasn't the sentiment. Peter still has many wonderful years of productivity ahead of him. So I don't know that would be the case, or wants to go work in philanthropy or something else, I
mean, I don't know. If I had spent 14 years at Netflix and had a successful, illustrious career, you would just find me on the tennis courts for the rest of my life. I would not have to do anything else.
Does Peter play tennis, Elaine? Is he part of the tennis world out there?
We'll find out.
Next week in Serious Business.
I will say I do think it's interesting, Ginny Howe, who's being promoted into this role, in the quotes that came out about the shuffle, she was credited with the gourmet cheeseburger phrase that we all have come to know and love. So I'm pretty interested, too, about what this signals for where Netflix is focusing its programming ambitions going forward. Definitely seems like we're going to get more of that kind of elevated prestige broadcast style programming that they've really leaned into these last couple of years.
I think that's right, especially after reaching out to some folks around town yesterday. Again, people really love Ginny. They're excited to see what she does with this, but also noted that her tastes and Bella's tastes really align, again, with that whole gourmet cheeseburger sort of elevated, broad appeal type show, which certainly, a lot of them have been doing pretty well for the service.
Yeah. And Peter was there again while Cindy Holland was there. And again, not to say the tastes were different per se, but certainly just something to keep in mind here in this situation. But maybe he will just take some time off, Elaine, and enjoy life for a little bit and play some tennis for a while. You never know with some people. But I don't think this is not the last you've heard or seen of Peter Friedlander in the television business. I think we're all rest assured about that.
Oh, he's probably more ambitious than me. You would find me on the courts.
I will not the cat. I'll give Peter credit for that one. No offense to you, Elaine. I love your plan as well.
All right, it's time for a little break. And when we return, let's talk about the biggest stories of the summer and what you need to know as we head into the fall. See you back here in a moment.
Got some good news for your ears. More of that good stuff is coming up. And even better news for your hair. The best hair care is at Sephora. They've got all kinds of products for every kind of hair. From brands like Amika, Kerastase, Day, and K18. You knew where to get great audio. Now, you know where to get great hair care, too. Sephora. Good news for great hair. Shop hair care now at Sephora.com.
Hi, I'm Katie Rich. I host the Prestige Junkie podcast, as well as our new subscriber-only tier, Prestige Junkie After Party. My co-host, Christopher Rosen, and I are heading into the thick of fall festival season. We'll be on the podcast covering all the latest news from Venice, Telluride, Toronto, and beyond. And I'll also be talking to many of the biggest stars of the Toronto Film Festival in our video studio. So be sure to subscribe to the Anklers YouTube page, in addition to subscribing to Prestige Junkie on the podcast player of your choosing. It's the best time of year for those of us who love award season, so sign up for Prestige Junkie and don't miss a moment.
Welcome back to the Ankler Podcast. I'm Elaine Lowe, here with Natalie Jarvie of Like and Subscribe and Sean McNulty of the Wake Up newsletter. Okay, so let's go through the top 5 stories of the summer here at the Ankler and why you all listeners should pay attention. Natalie, Sean, we're going to do this rapid fire, so we'll each take a moment to recap the story and then pose a question to the class where we'll each have 2 minutes to discuss and get all of our hottest takes out of our system. All right, Natalie, start us off.
Okay. So I might be biased, but it feels like ever since the media made hay of the podcast election last year, all anyone can talk about are creators. Mr. Beast debuted Beast Games, his, according to Amazon, massively popular reality competition series. A number of creators made serious runs at the Emmys. Alex Cooper was in Vogue's September issue here just last week. And YouTube has fully come into its own as a dominant player in the living room, thanks to, the streaming viewership that happens. So my question for the class is this the year the creator economy officially upstages Hollywood?
Ooh, that's a good question. Normally, I would have said no, but then I look at what my children watch, right? I look at what the next gen watches. all they want to watch is YouTube. I have to tell them, like on Saturdays, they're allowed to get a certain amount of TV, and I have to tell them, hey, we're going to turn off YouTube now. I want you to watch like Netflix or Disney Plus or something with like real narrative stories and a proper structure. So I'm going to say, yeah, I think so, based on the Elementary set.
Well, all right, there you go. I mean, the YouTube conversation is much more nuanced than it's given credit for. YouTube is not just people streaming Mr. Beast and kid shows. It is people listening to podcasts, which not even watching them. There's people music videos. There's cooking instructions. There, so and it's a global service, et cetera, et cetera. So if you're comparing that to Netflix, which isn't in, I don't know, at least 2/3 of those businesses, it's like, or even probably all of them, arguably, YouTube doesn't have scripted television. It's like outside of maybe, again, vertical dramas, you can kind of go a little bit in that, but even they're not a major player in that field. So, it's competition for time, Natalie, what people are kind of talking about is what this is. And, that's fine, but if you want to write movies, it's not like, oh yeah, there's a real future on YouTube. Like, no, you cannot fund any of these projects based on YouTube budgets. You go back to, we'll get diving to Paramount shortly, but like Colbert, Daily Show, what do you do with these things? Yeah, they get 10 million. Jon Stewart videos get 10 million views on YouTube. You cannot fund a show that has that production value and also on YouTube metrics.
Okay, 30 seconds.
I think this is now here as a constant part of the conversation. So I think that's the level it's achieving. That's what I would say to that.
Well, and just to, be the last word on this here, I mean, Netflix is talking to podcasters. They're greenlighting shows from creators.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people starting to figure out how to incorporate creators into all of their programming.
All right, and that's our time. Okay, you're up, Sean.
All right, well, obviously Paramount took a lot of oxygen up this summer, Elaine. If you don't know what's going on at Paramount at this point, I don't know why you're listening to this podcast. So I think we can pretty much just dive in. So what I want to talk about now with you guys is, what's ahead. So let's say 6 months from now, maybe February, March, what's the take on this company out there? What's the outlook for it? Are you guys optimistic, pessimistic, or where's your head at this point?
Well, I certainly think it's going to be better than it was for Warner Brothers Discovery and David Zaslav a couple of years ago.
Okay, fair enough.
How high is that bar?
Yeah, I was going to say,
Not
Natalie.
that
I don't know. All right.
Listen, I have a lot of faith in Cindy Holland. I think they're making some really interesting moves. Will they all pay off? I don't know. But, at least someone's trying something, which is what this town needs right now.
Okay,
I think the pressure is going to be on here. 6 months is a really short time frame to expect a great deal of success. But I do think the pressure is going to be on because there's so much hype around it. People are really excited about the return of Cindy Holland. People are curious about what's going to happen to Paramount Plus. I don't think it's controversial to say that Paramount Plus is not exactly on the top of anybody's mind as a major streamer.
Wait, hold on. I watch Matlock. I will admit.
On Paramount Plus.
Not top of the mind in the low household. All right. Yeah, it does have a guy named Taylor Sheridan. There are things that are popular on Paramount Plus, yes. But the tech and the UI and the interface, I've never heard anybody say anything nice things about, so I'll say that.
I was going to say,
sure.
I mean, there's more to a streaming platform than just content, right? It's like, how easily can I find this stuff? How much
the rep
am I
isn't
getting?
great on the user experience, yes.
Right. I mean, but then again, you can turn that around pretty quickly. I mean, look at all the people who were complaining about the Max platform 2 years ago.
Sure.
Or we were talking last week about the Peacock platform during the Olympics in 2020. They've all turned it around. It's totally possible.
And hopefully that's going to be the way it goes. Yeah. Look, there's going to be, November's not going to be pretty. And, and in December, the rest of this year. So I put 6 months out, say certainly by February, March. That's where I'm like, all right, I think they'll be through. And they've said one time only, we are doing a mass change here. So all this excitement is great. I think there's going to be a lot of just like, holy shit, quite frankly, at the end of this. But I will just note 60 Minutes premieres in 4 weeks. So get your hot takes ready, everybody, for 2 weeks prior to that.
60 minutes.
So 1 month away.
That's your time, Sean. That's our. We're going to cut it off at 60 minutes. Okay, it's my turn now. Okay, so Gen Xers, maybe the most forgotten generation. Sean, you can help me attest to this, as they like to lament. And that just might be true in Hollywood in particular. It's a group that's now in their 40s and 50s. They're feeling pretty unmoored after the streaming revolution, the strikes, the studio mergers that left many of them without jobs after all this corporate consolidation, not to mention these pesky boomer studio heads who just aren't going gentle into that good night, and millennials who are champing at the bit to get promoted ahead of them. Gen X feels like they got shafted. So question is, do Gen Xers really have it worse than any other generation in Hollywood right now, or are they just complaining?
Should we go Gen X or millennial to start? Where do you want to go,
Let's
Elaine?
start with the Gen Xer. What do you think?
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, we're Rodney Dangerfield, man. We get no respect. That's, literally we kind of pull a Gen X phrase. Look, every generation has their own perspective on this. I think you talk to Gen Z, they're probably like, hello, you think you have it hard? We're growing up with AI and
we'll never buy a house. Well, that's
we'll
millennials.
Never buy a house. Well, right. Well, and Gen Z for that matter.
I mean, we can't even afford avocado toast. So,
we Gen Xers ate it all. So, yeah, look, and we just mentioned the Paramount layoffs, which I'm sure will affect a large scale, again, a large amount of Gen X employees. So, again, it's this saga you mentioned, Elaine, is not over in Hollywood for our generation. So, do they have it any harder? It is maybe we've been forgotten about a little bit in this conversation, I think. Maybe that was it. And thank you, Elaine, for bringing us to light, giving us some oxygen. Do we have it any worse than any, that's obviously debatable. So I'm going to debate that over to Natalie.
You're being very diplomatic, Sean. I'm sorry. Millennials have it so much worse.
Oh, wow. Okay. What a very millennial thing to say, by the way.
We graduated into a recession.
True.
All those jobs.
Oh, really? How about did you beat the 90s, Natalie? Do I need to do that lesson for you about the economy in 1992? Anyway, sorry, carry on.
I mean, whether you're talking about Hollywood or the media business, we've just had one round of layoffs after the next. It has been so hard for so many millennials to get their careers jump-started.
30 seconds.
Let alone even be concerned about eventually being able to take on some of those positions of power that boomers and Gen Xers definitely
Yeah, we've got 2 generations to jump over there, Sean.
Hey, you guys create a YouTube, you can go work on YouTube, all right? You know what? There you go. That's, you want to stay within Hollywood, there you go.
Well, we're having to be a lot more creative, right, about our futures because those stable jobs aren't there anymore.
The nimble generation. Go for it.
And that's our time. All right, what do we have up next, Natalie?
All right, well, speaking of being nimble, there is a new format in town, and it's different than anything we've ever seen before. Microdramas, they're capturing millions of eyeballs with their vertically shot series of secret heiresses, werewolf billionaires, high school queen bees. They're shot in 90-second installments. They're fueled by these tiny micropayments that can add up to real significant money. And they're completely transforming how everyone is watching content and paying for content. So my question for you both is, are microdramas the next big thing in the entertainment business?
Well, Elaine, you were just on the set of one, so we'll maybe have you start with this one off.
It's true. We were on the set of a Casey Esser production, Natalie and I, over the weekend, who is, the Tom Cruise of microdramas. He's been in 48 of these productions already. It's becoming a business. I mean, Natalie and I, we've met investors, we've met producers. There's Microco now with Jana Weinergrade and Susan Rovner, people with real TV experience who are jumping into this space. And when the legacy players come in, that means that they feel like something's happening there.
I think Gen Z can have this one. But, look, show me when they make profits. Show me when the money. I'm like, great to have the activity. That's fantastic. You are employing some people, maybe not at rates that they're used to in Hollywood union productions. These are all non-union productions. We should point that out.
And the biggest operator in the space, Real Short, the CEO told us that they only break even. So
exactly. And I've seen several job postings now that I put in the Wake Up in my weekly job board on Tuesdays. The writers get paid $70,000 to $80,000 a year. Not bad. Is that writing for a Netflix show? That is not. So that is also not a weekly rate. That's an annual rate. You are on staff. You will write as many shows as they are going to.
Well, show me how many WGA writers are making 70 to 80 grand a year right now.
Depends your bar is. If you're telling me if I'm not working, that's pretty great. If you're telling me I'm going from a Netflix show to a microdrama, that's probably not. Again, perspective is everything here. But
30 seconds.
Natalie's the creator economy. That is, I think, definitely be part of the conversation going forward. I still think is there a viable business, profitable business to be had here? Or is this you're just churning out to break even here is a real question in my mind.
It's definitely still early, but I think there are a lot of really valuable lessons you can take away. The micropayments piece of this is really fascinating.
Agreed.
And the way that you can make things for a lot cheaper. So there will be lessons that I think will retain even if these microdramas don't necessarily stick around in this way going forward.
All right, that's our time. I don't disagree with either of you on those. I think it'll be interesting. I mean, is it the next coming of Quibi? Who's to say?
Or going. There you go.
Okay, Sean, what's our last story?
I'm told we have to talk about K-pop because everybody is talking about K-pop at this point. So yes, the Demon Hunters, I guess, the phenomenon, the numbers have been accounted for. What are the takeaways? Is this a one-off hit, or is there something really, a lesson you can take away here to build upon if you're Netflix in that sense, or another streamer? Elaine, what do you got?
I think the lesson here is that you don't need to rely on IP. You don't need to rely on famous faces and voices, that you can have an original hit that actually blossomed pretty organically. I mean, yes, there was some marketing behind it, but not in the way that you would have imagined for a movie that got, 9.2 million views right out of the gate on that first week, and now is steadily in the 20 million a week range.
Yeah.
And it feels very organic, feels very word of mouth. There is so much unlicensed, unsanctioned Saja Boys and Huntrix gear running around my children's elementary
I was going to say,
school.
sounds like you've been on Etsy or something recently.
Black market on this, huh? Oh, okay.
I have a request from my 6-year-old for a Saja Boys backpack. So Netflix, please get on that.
Wait till Halloween, right?
Oh my God.
Here's my take on this too, which is that, it goes to show that everyone in Hollywood is still just kind of guessing at what's going to be a hit, you sometimes can't predict what is going to take off with people, and you can't manufacture these moments. You have to, kind of capitalize on it when you see that audiences are really engaging with something, and help then kind of balloon it into something bigger, which I think Netflix has done an incredible job at. But at the end of the day, anyone who tells you that they know for sure what audiences are going to want to watch has no idea.
Yeah, Natalie, I'm 100% in this with you. You got to take swings, and you got to take different swings, and that's a big thing too. Doing the same thing over and over again. There's no look. When Squid Game came out, the 86 hot takes that were, oh my God, we're all going to watch Korean TV series now. Has there been a large a foreign language TV hit since Squid Game in America in that sense? I'm struggling to even think of one. So again, Squid Game was great. You capitalize on it. Natalie, as you say, you create Squid Game unscripted series, et cetera, et cetera. You run with it. But the lesson is you got to take swings and take different kinds of swings to have a shot at success in Hollywood, whether you're Netflix or a movie studio in that sense.
All right, and that's our time. All right, well, listeners, if you have any thoughts, if you have any hot takes of your own, make sure you email us at podcasts@theankler.com. And that last thing I will say, I will squeeze in because I'm the host and I don't have to pay attention to the timer, is that I think that another thing people should know about K-pop Demon Hunters is that you should actually take your young audiences seriously, like this movie and its creators did. Like, make really catchy, great music and, believe that your young viewer is smart enough to get the concept of, this bilingual, multi-dimensional, K-pop drama. All right.
Yeah, they are the future of the entertainment industry, Gen Alpha, so it's good to pay attention to them now.
Yeah, they know what's up. All right. Okay, to round out the week, it's box office time. Labor Day is a big one. What should we watch to escape the heat, Sean? What's coming out over this 3-day weekend?
Well, Labor Day can be a big one. This will not be one of them.
Oh.
Sometimes it's Equalizer 3, where you do $35 million. And now we have years like this year. The Roses caught stealing the new Austin Butler movie, which is slated to not really have a very large opening.
The Roses, that's Benedict Cumberbatch and Olivia Colman, right?
That's The Roses.
Is it a rom-com? What is it?
It's a dark comedy, I would say.
Comedy,
okay. Yeah, probably falls into that category. And then good old Jaws is back on the big screen for the 50th anniversary as well. So sure, why not? Exactly. So nobody's expecting more than probably 5 to 8 million out of any one of those movies. So
are we going to need another K-pop Demon Hunter sing along in theaters to help bolster the box office numbers this weekend?
We have a movie you will definitely not go see, Elaine, The Conjuring, coming the weekend after, which is
pass.
Hard pass
sure,
for
it's
Elaine
fine.
Lowe.
Not for me.
I'm sure it's fine. Review from Elaine Lowe on that one, but that's going to be the next weekend, which should kick off a decent September. But yeah, this weekend will be a quiet end to the summer season.
So it sounds like it's a good weekend to go to the beach.
Go to the beach
100%.
or hang out with Benedict Cumberbatch and Olivia Colman.
All right, well, that's a wrap on this week's Ankler podcast. Visit theankler.com to subscribe to all of our newsletters and pods to stay ahead of what's happening in the industry. And if you like hanging out with us every week and feel like we've made you smarter and savvier about doing business in Hollywood, leave us a rating and review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening in from. You can also follow us at The Ankler on all major social platforms. Thanks to Sean McNulty and Natalie Jarvie as always, and thank you all for listening. I'm Elaine Lowe. See you next week.